और रिकंसिडरेशन के बाद अगर सेम एडवाइस अगर काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स फिर से दे देते हैं तो देन द प्रेसिडेंट हैज नो ऑप्शन बट टू एक्सेप्ट इट. एंड इन 1957 द एनडीसी सेट अप द बलवंतराय मेहता कमेटी to review the working of this community development program, right? Not to advise on पंचायती राज, but कई बार लोगों के दिमाग में आता है कि कंटेम्प्ट ऑफ कोर्ट की जो पावर्स है सुप्रीम कोर्ट हाई कोर्ट की, they are derived from the contempt of court act 71. No, they are very well mentioned in the constitution itself. बिकॉज आप जब किसी को रिमूव कर रहे हो सिविल सर्वेंट को तो कोई उसके अगेंस्ट एलिगेशन होगी करप्शन वर्प्शन या कुछ भी चीज की एनी काइंड ऑफ रॉन्ग डूइंग ही इज डन. बट जब मैंने ऐसे वर्टिकली इन्फोर्सेबल भी है हॉरिजॉन्टली इन्फोर्सेबल भी है तो दीज आर दोज राइट्स व्हिच आर इन्फोर्सेबल अगेंस्ट द स्टेट आल्सो. इवन द स्टेट कैन नॉट वायलेट इट एंड योर फेलो सिटीजंस आल्सो कैन नॉट वायलेट दैट राइट. हाय फ्रेंड्स, आई एम पुरी, faculty and instructor for polity, governance, social justice at the Sarthi platform. Okay, what is today's agenda? Like in the previous session, we discussed the latest questions on polity that appeared in the CDS paper, and I told you why those questions have to be always looked at whenever you are preparing for civil service exam also. So today we'll be discussing the latest questions on polity which have been asked on in the Central Armed Police Forces paper, right? You'll see some similarities also. So it indicates to us as to how the UPSC is thinking. Okay. All right, I believe that the first question is rather simple one. I think anybody who's preparing for civil services, who has even perhaps just done the NCERT textbooks of 11th, 12th of political science would be able to answer this question very simply, right? Okay, so what does this particular question say? Let's have a look here. Okay, right. From amongst the following, identify the correct option that captures the changes made in Article 74 Clause 1. Article 74 on the whole is the one that deals with the relationship between the Council of Ministers and the President. Okay. So from amongst the following, identify the correct option that captures the changes made in Article 71 of the Constitution of India through the 42nd Amendment Act 76. पहला इसमें चॉइस क्या है? Executive power of the Union shall be vested with the President of India. ये तो बेटा शुरू से ही वेस्टेड थी. इनफैक्ट इफ यू लुक एट आर्टिकल 53 इट वेरी क्लियरली सेज व्हाट दैट द एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर ऑफ द यूनियन इज वेस्टेड इन द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया. सो नो चेंज वाज मेड टू दिस आर्टिकल, राइट? द प्राइम मिनिस्टर हैज द ड्यूटी टू ब्रीफ द प्रेसिडेंट अबाउट द डिसीजन ऑफ काउंसिल of ministers. This power also, this particular provision also has been there since the original constitution in article 78 of the constitution. Okay. Then look at the last one. The president shall have the right to summon or prorogue the sessions of the houses of parliament. Summon the session of parliament and prorogue का मतलब होता है to bring the session to a close. This power also has been with the president under article 85 since the very beginning. तो automatically बेटा एक ही बचता है क्योंकि because this is 53, this is 78 and this is article 85. So what is this? The president shall exercise his or her functions on the advice of council of ministers headed by the prime minister. हाँ ठीक बात है बेटा. आर्टिकल 74 में पहले ये स्पेसिफिकली मेंशन नहीं था कि द प्रेसिडेंट इज सपोज्ड टू एक्ट ऑन द एडवाइस ऑफ काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स. द वर्ड शैल वाज एडेड इन आर्टिकल 74 बाय द 42nd अमेंडमेंट एक्ट एंड ऑब्वियसली बाय द 44th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 78 one more thing was added that the president, if he so wants, he can send the advice of the council of ministers back to the council of ministers for reconsideration. और reconsideration के बाद अगर same advice अगर council of ministers फिर से दे देते हैं तो then the president has no option but to accept it. Okay. So the right choice is C. मैं इस क्वेश्चन में जल्दी I have explained this question in a little bit of a rush because I believe that this particular question is a very easy one and perhaps something which is understandable and answerable by all of you. Right. Okay. Now let's move further. Let's go to the next question. यहाँ पे explain भी किया हुआ है. If you want to have a look at the explanation, you can have a look at the explanation. ठीक है. Again, I'll stop here. You can read some extra points over here. Okay. Now let's have a look over here. Again, it was not a very difficult question. Consider the following statements about the powers and duties of the CAG of India. Okay. Firstly, he audits and reports on all expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India, not just the Consolidated Fund of India, even from the public accounts of India, even from the Contingency Fund of India, and not just of India, of the states also. And not just of states, also UTs which have assemblies. Which UTs have assemblies? Only 3 UTs have assemblies. That is Puducherry, Delhi, and of course your Jammu and Kashmir. Puducherry, Delhi, and Jammu and Kashmir have assemblies. Right. So he audits and reports all expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India. Statement is absolutely correct, but I'm just completing it. He also audits expenditure from the public account of India. Both Consolidated Fund of India and Public Account of India are mentioned in Article 266 while Contingency Fund of India is mentioned in Article 267. Okay. So if you want to know what exactly is the public account of India, you can very well know it from the definition given to this term in Article 266. Okay. Next, he controls the issue and receipt of money from the Consolidated Fund of India. But this is a function he's supposed to do, but he's not doing it. If the CAG was actually performing this function of controlling the issue of money from the Consolidated Fund of India, then actually he would be performing the function of the comptroller. I think you must have heard, बहुत जगह पे आपने सुना होगा कि हमारे जो ऑडिटर जनरल हैं वो उनके जो उनका जो पूरा एब्रीविएशन है, पूरी एक्रोनिम है, वो CAG है, एंड C stands for comptroller, लेकिन comptroller function वो परफॉर्म नहीं कर रहे. This statement actually indicates the comptroller function only. तो कंट्रोलर फंक्शन अभी वो परफॉर्म नहीं कर रहे हैं इंडिया में. ही ओनली डज द ऑडिट आफ्टर द मनी हैज बीन स्पेंट. ठीक है, सो दिस इज इनकरेक्ट. Then he audits and reports on expenditure of all bodies which are substantially financed by out of union or state revenues. This is absolutely correct. So 1 and 3 are correct. This is the, as I said, the comptroller function, which as of now the CAG is not performing, even though it's called the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Right. So which of the following statements are correct? 1 and 3. So simple one. Or better, वैसे भी if you want to have a more deeper understanding of what functions the CAG performs, ना, so that is not given in the constitution. That is actually given in a law. थोड़ा सा law है, देख सकते हो. Just a moment. CAG DPC Act 1971. इसमें DPC stands for Duties, Powers and Conditions of Service Act. ठीक है. इनफैक्ट सरप्राइजिंगली सो CAG का जो टेन्योर है और एज ऑफ रिटायरमेंट है वो भी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में मेंशन नहीं है. दैट इज आल्सो मेंशन्ड इन द CAG DPC एक्ट ओनली. 6 years and 65 years, whichever is earlier. Okay, so the answer is 1 and 3 only. Right. Let's proceed further. Let's come to the next question. यहाँ मैं रुक जाता हूँ. You can always have a look at some more explanatory points over here, right? And over here as well. चलिए अब आगे चलते हैं. All right, a simple question. Anybody who's prepared, पंचायत से बहुत क्वेश्चन आते हैं बेटा. UPSC is very focused on local government, right? चलिए, match the following. Balwant Rai Mehta Committee. Okay, Balwant Rai Mehta Committee was set up in which year? 1957. Set up by who? The National Development Council, जो अब एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती है. अच्छा, बलवंत राय मेहता कमेटी को हमेशा हम एसोसिएट किससे करते हैं? विद पंचायती राज. एंड ये क्वेश्चन एक बार पहले आ चुका है यूपीएससी के अंदर. That Balwant Rai Mehta committee was set up by the NDC to advise the NDC on which particular matter. Because Balwant Rai Mehta committee का जो नाम है, it is synonymous with पंचायती राज. Most people mark the answer as that Balwant Rai Mehta committee was set up to advise on पंचायती राज. That is not the case, right? 1952 में Government of India started a program called the Community Development Program. ठीक है? And in 1957 the NDC set up the Balwant Rai Mehta committee to review the working of this community development program, right? Not to advise on Panchayati Raj, but because community development program was supposed to be based on people's participation, or people's participation was almost entirely absent in the implementation of this program. And then this is one of the greatest weaknesses of this program identified by Balwant Rai Mehta committee. Therefore, to secure people's participation, it recommended a 3-tier Panchayati Raj in India, with जिला परिषद at the apex, पंचायत समिति आपके इंटरमीडिएट लेवल पे, और उसके नीचे सबसे नीचे ग्राम पंचायत. ठीक है. So Balwant Rai Mehta committee, A, have a look here. Creation of जिला परिषद, पंचायत समिति and ग्राम पंचायत. 3-tier system, so automatically ये मैच हो गया. ठीक है. अशोक मेहता कमेटी ने, which was set up in 1977, भारतीय जनता पार्टी, the first non-Congress government that came to power, 1977 में सेटअप हुई थी ये. ठीक है. अच्छा, instead of a 3-tier system, they recommended a 2-tier system. मतलब जिला परिषद at the apex and a mandal panchayat for a group of villages which together have a population of around 15,000 to 20,000. ठीक है. So let's have a look over here. Creation of Zila Parishad and Mandal Panchayat. So Balwant Rai Mehta committee recommended a 3-tier system, while the Ashok Mehta committee recommended a 2-tier system. So Ashok Mehta के साथ मैच हो रहा है 3. ठीक है. GV Rao कमेटी, ये बनी थी 1985 में. In 1985, okay. Creation of the post of District Development Commissioner. In fact, what the GV Rao committee said was, and you know, this is a time when Rajiv Gandhi got very serious about implementing your Panchayati Raj in its true sense, right? was very serious about it at that time. So he set up there's a long list of committees which was set up by your Rajiv Gandhi himself, and two of them are mentioned over here only to revitalize the working of Panchayati Raj, right? तो GVK Rao कमेटी जो थी उसको कई बार ना ये भी कहा जाता है कार्ड कमेटी. कार्ड का मतलब होता है कमेटी टू रिव्यू द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव अरेंजमेंट्स फॉर रूरल डेवलपमेंट. तो उन्होंने कहा था कि इन्होंने रिकमेंडेशन ये दी थी कि ऑल योर रूरल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम्स वंस पंचायती राज हैज बीन इंप्लीमेंटेड, तो ऑल रूरल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम शुड बी रूटेड थ्रू, शुड बी ट्रांसफर्ड टू द जिला परिषद, and the CEO of the Zilla Parishad should be given the status of district development commissioner, and his status should be higher than that of the district collector also. इस हद तक गए थे वो कि all developmental functions in rural India should be given over to Zilla Parishad, और जो जिला परिषद के CEO होंगे he should be designated as the district development commissioner with a rank with the status which is higher than that of the district collector also, district magistrate जिसको आप कहते हो. ठीक है. So GVK Rao committee, creation of post of district development commissioner. बचा सिर्फ एक LM Singh committee was one of the first committees to recommend constitutional status for Panchayati Raj, which was given by the 73rd Amendment Act 1992. So A4, B3, C2 and D1. So this is the correct answer. Okay, simple question tha. I believe if you've done this chapter from Lakshmikant also, so these committees are mentioned over there also. Right. Let's proceed further. आगे चलते हैं. या यहाँ पे वो इंफॉर्मेशन जो मैंने आपको दी है, it's here, you can just have a look at it again. Fine. Over here as well. Right. Okay. Now let's have a look at this. Which of the following statement is not correct? The Supreme Court of India is a court of record. Very well. A court of record under Article 129. Beta, what is a court of record? देखो, कोर्ट ऑफ रिकॉर्ड वो कोर्ट होता है जिसके जो एक्शंस डिसीजंस होते हैं दे आर कमिटेड टू परमानेंट मेमोरी, उसको हमेशा प्रिजर्व करके रखा जाता है, एंड द डिसीजंस ऑफ दिस कोर्ट आर बाइंडिंग ऑन द लोअर कोर्ट्स, एंड दिस कोर्ट आल्सो हैज द पावर टू पनिश फॉर इट्स ओन कंटेम्प्ट. अगर आपको अगर क्वेश्चन आ जाए ना कि भाई जो कंटेम्प्ट पावर्स है हाई कोर्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट की, आर देयर, एक हमारा लॉ भी तो है ना कंटेम्प्ट ऑफ कोर्ट एक्ट 1971, तो कई बार लोगों के दिमाग में आता है कि कंटेम्प्ट ऑफ कोर्ट की जो पावर्स हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट हाई कोर्ट की, दे आर डिराइव्ड फ्रॉम द कंटेम्प्ट ऑफ कोर्ट एक्ट 71. नो, दे आर वेरी वेल मेंशन्ड इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इटसेल्फ, because Supreme Court is a court of record, High Court is a court of record, district and subordinate courts are not courts of record. ठीक है. तो कोर्ट ऑफ रिकॉर्ड इज दैट कोर्ट जिसके जो डिसीजंस हैं, प्रोसीडिंग्स हैं, दे आर कमिटेड टू परमानेंट मेमोरी इन परपेचुटी, हमेशा के लिए, और उनके जो जजमेंट्स हैं, डिसीजंस हैं, वो बाइंडिंग होते हैं लोअर कोर्ट्स के ऊपर एज प्रेसिडेंट्स टू बी फॉलोड बाय लोअर कोर्ट्स. ठीक है. सो अंडर आर्टिकल 129 एंड सच अ कोर्ट ऑफ रिकॉर्ड आल्सो हैज द पावर टू पनिश फॉर इट्स ओन कंटेम्प्ट. सो बोथ सुप्रीम कोर्ट एंड हाई कोर्ट्स इन आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन हैव बीन आइडेंटिफाइड एज कोर्ट्स ऑफ रिकॉर्ड. Therefore, they also have the power to punish for their own contempt. Right. So, Supreme Court of India is a court of record. High courts in India are courts of record under Article 215. Absolutely correct. Subordinate courts in India are courts of record. Wrong. All courts in India are not courts of record. Obviously, all courts are not. Only Supreme Court and High courts are. Subordinate courts are not courts of record. So, state यहाँ पे क्या पूछा है? Which of the following statement is not correct? So, this is the one that is not correct. That is fourth. I hope this was clear to you, and you can also have a look at some additional information here. Chali, let's move further. Okay, let's have a look at the fifth question. Under which among the following articles of the Constitution of India a member of civil service, whether of the union or of a state, seeks protection from unlawful dismissal from service? मतलब ऐसा कौन सा आर्टिकल है इन चारों में जो एक सिविल सर्वेंट को, बेटा सिविल सर्वेंट को आपकी सरकार डिसमिस कर सकती है, रिमूव कर सकती है, लेकिन अब हमारे ही संविधान में एक आर्टिकल कहता है कि नो सिविल सर्वेंट कैन बी रिमूव्ड फ्रॉम और डिसमिस फ्रॉम हिज पोजीशन बाय एन अथॉरिटी लोअर देन द अपॉइंटिंग अथॉरिटी. ठीक है. एंड सेकेंडली, बिफोर दिस पर्सन इज रिमूव्ड he has to be given a reasonable opportunity to defend himself. मतलब आप जब किसी को रिमूव कर रहे हो सिविल सर्वेंट को, तो कोई उसके अगेंस्ट एलिगेशन होगी करप्शन वप्शन या कुछ भी चीज की, एनी काइंड ऑफ रॉन्ग डूइंग ही हैज डन, तो बट नेचुरल जस्टिस ये बोलती है कि भाई ड्यू प्रोसेस ऑफ लॉ भी ये कहती है कि भाई जब आपने किसी को इस तरह से रिमूव करना है, बहुत बड़ी पनिशमेंट है यार, उसकी नौकरी छीन रहे हो आप, तो कम से कम जो उसके अगेंस्ट चार्जेस हैं उसके लिए उसको डिफेंड करने का मौका तो मिलना चाहिए. ठीक है. एक तो नो सिविल सर्वेंट इन इंडिया कैन बी डिसमिस्ड और रिमूव्ड फ्रॉम हिज पोजीशन by an authority lower than the appointing authority. Secondly, before you dismiss or remove him, even before you demote him, reduce him in rank, demotion से पहले भी, you will have to give him a reasonable opportunity to defend himself. Now, this is mentioned in 311. ठीक है. So, this becomes the correct choice. 309 is a very general article which says that the rules governing the recruitment and conditions of service of civil servants will be decided by laws made by appropriate legislature. When I say na, laws made by appropriate legislature, the rules governing recruitment and conditions of service of employees of central government will be decided by laws made by parliament, and rules governing the recruitment and conditions of service of state civil servants would be decided by law made by the state legislature. So ये 309 के अंदर है. 315 simply talks about the setting up of public service commissions. Three types of public service commissions: UPSC, State Public Service Commission, and if two states want a common public service commission, which is called a joint public service commission, तो वो तीनों आपकी आर्टिकल 315 में मेंशन है. और आर्टिकल 320 is a common article that talks about simply the functions of all these three types of public service commission. So the correct answer is article 311. Okay, proceed further. ये यहाँ पे आपको, I'll stop it over here. You can have a look at some information from here also. Fine. Whatever I have explained to you is mentioned over here. Okay, over here as well. Let's proceed further. Question number 6. Let's have a look. Okay. Which of the following statements are correct? Some rights contained in Part 3, fundamental rights का part है, of the Constitution of India are enforceable against the state only. Some rights mentioned over here in Part 3 are enforceable against the state only. Most of the rights are by and large enforceable against the state only. Some rights operate horizontally also. देखो, जब मैं कहता हूँ ना कि rights are operatable against the state, तो state तो हमारे ऊपर है, तो उसको कहते हैं vertically enforceable rights. And then there are certain rights which are enforceable against our fellow citizens also, like the right against untouchability, right? Like right against discrimination mentioned in 15 clause 2, right? तो ये आपकी horizontally enforceable भी है. Plus another example would be right against exploitation under article 23 and 24. ये आपकी vertically enforceable भी है, horizontally enforceable भी है. जब मैंने ऐसे vertically enforceable भी है, horizontally enforceable भी है, तो these are those rights which are enforceable against the state also. Even the state cannot violate it, and your fellow citizens also cannot violate that right. Okay. So some rights contained in Part 3 of the Constitution are enforceable against the state only. Like the state shall not deny to anyone equality before law or the equal protection of laws. Like Article 15 है, Clause 1. The state shall not discriminate on grounds like your place of birth, sex, your caste, religion, class, etc., etc. Okay, fine. Achha, some rights contained in Part 3 of the Constitution of India are enforceable in favor of citizens only. Very correct. बेटा बड़ा सिंपल सा टेस्ट होता है. जिस भी फंडामेंटल राइट्स गो फ्रॉम आर्टिकल 12 to 35, जहां पर भी लिखा हुआ है, जैसे आर्टिकल 14 में लिखा हुआ है, द स्टेट शैल नॉट डिनाई टू एनी पर्सन. जहां पे वर्ड आ गया ना पर्सन, तो पर्सन इंक्लूड्स बोथ सिटीजंस एज वेल एज फॉरेनर्स, दैट मींस नॉन सिटीजंस आल्सो. जहां पे स्पेसिफिकली वर्ड आया द स्टेट शैल नॉट डिस्क्रिमिनेट बिटवीन सिटीजंस, जैसे 15 क्लॉज 1 में लिखा है, जैसे आर्टिकल 19 की जो आपकी 6 राइट्स हैं, दे आर कन्फाइंड ओनली टू सिटीजंस. ठीक है. सो some rights contained in Part 3 of the Constitution are enforceable in favor of citizens only, like 15 clause 1, clause 2, then Article 16, equality of opportunity in sarkari naukriyan, public employment, Article 19. Okay. Then some rights contained in Part 3 of the Constitution of India are enforceable against both the state and the individuals. इसके एग्जाम्पल मैंने पहले ही दे दिए आपको. Article 16 है, 23 है, 24 है, etc., etc. Fine. So, which of the following statements in these three are correct? Well, all three are correct. तीनों की तीनों ठीक है. ठीक है. So the answer is D. Okay. मैं एक बार दोबारा समझा दूं आपको. एक बार दोबारा समझ लीजिए इसको. क्योंकि there are certain rights which are vertically operating. ठीक है. Vertically operating rights are those rights which are available only against the state. मतलब state के against ही आपको available होती हैं. Horizontal, many rights are there which are available against the state only. Okay, like it's the duty of the state to provide free and compulsory education between the age group of 6 to 14. Okay, state की ड्यूटी है ये आम लोगों की ड्यूटी नहीं है. तो दूसरी जो राइट्स होती हैं वो होती हैं some which are horizontally your applicable, meaning thereby that those rights can be even your fellow citizens cannot violate those rights, like untouchability, protection against untouchability under Article 17, right? But there are certain rights which are available both against the state, they are vertically operating also, and against the citizens. The moment you are operating a right, enforcing a right against the citizen, it becomes a horizontal right. तो some are available only against the state, which are only vertical in nature. Some are available both against the state and the individuals. I've given the examples over here. ठीक है, are enforceable against both the state and individuals. एक सेकंड बेटा, यहाँ पे 16 नहीं आएगा, ये मेड a mistake over here. यहाँ पे 17 आएगा. Okay, 16 तो is available against the state only. Fine. Okay, and 23, 24 and 17. ठीक है, so all three are correct इन तीनों स्टेटमेंट्स में. बस यहाँ पे एक करेक्शन कर लेना, मुझसे यहाँ गलती हो गई, 17 आएगा. चलिए, लेट्स प्रोसीड फर्दर. इसको आप देख सकते हो यहाँ पे एग्जांपल्स भी दिए हुए हैं हमने. Okay, you saw that this type of question was asked even in your CDS paper, so much, and Panchayati Raj is, especially mentioned in your prelim syllabus also. तो बेटा वो कितना ज़्यादा तवज्जो देते हैं, और स्पेसिफिकली आर्टिकल्स, और सोचो यूपीएससी में नहीं, ये CAPF और CDS के एग्जाम में पूछा जा रहा है, तो आपके यूपीएससी पेपर के लिए तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाते हैं. ठीक है, ओके. अंडर विच among the following articles of the Constitution of India the seats are reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe in municipalities. ठीक है, यहाँ पे municipalities की बात हो रही है. वो आई थिंक CDS में क्वेश्चन आया था उसका इन पंचायती राज इंस्टीट्यूशंस, राइट. सो इन म्युनिसिपैलिटीज, करेक्ट. सो द करेक्ट आंसर इज 243T, because if you look at 243R, it basically talks about composition of municipalities. ठीक है, 243S जो है आपका, ये बात करता है वार्ड कमेटीज के बारे में, सेटिंग अप ऑफ वार्ड कमेटीज. यू नो दैट, अगर आपने सिविल्स की तैयारी की है इस साल के लिए, फॉर एनी म्युनिसिपल एरिया वेयर द पॉपुलेशन एक्सीड्स 3 लाख, तो ऐसे हर म्युनिसिपल जो आपका अर्बन एरिया है जहां पे पॉपुलेशन 3 लाख से ज्यादा है, तो वहां पे हर वार्ड के लिए या 2 या 3 वार्ड्स के लिए कॉमन वार्ड कमेटी बनानी जरूरी है. ठीक है, और आपका जो 243ZA है, ठीक है, दिस डील्स विद इलेक्शंस and the state election commission which will conduct the elections to municipal bodies. ठीक है, यहाँ पे बेटा, यहाँ पे ये मैंने आपको करेक्ट करवा दिया है. यहाँ पे एक करेक्शन कर लेना, यहाँ पे ना 243ZA को ना गलत लिखा हुआ है, बस इसको करेक्ट कर लेना. इट इज नॉट करेक्टली मेंशन. ठीक है, तो ये करेक्ट कर लेना, ये वो हमारी टीम से गलती हुई है. ये 243ZA ये नहीं बताता है. ठीक है, because here 243ZA को लिखा है the article deals with continuance of existing laws. No, it does not. It actually deals with the elections and state election commission. ठीक है, तो इसको काट देना प्लीज. Okay, now let's come to the 8th question. देखो ARC की रिकमेंडेशंस में भी क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं हम. Let's have a look here. Which of the following statements are correct? The abolition of Official Secrets Act 1923 was recommended by the Second Administrative Reforms Commission, which was set up in 2005 under Virappa Moily. When was the first Administrative Reforms Commission set up? 1966. Under who? Under a former Prime Minister of India, Morarji Desai. Okay. So the abolition of Official Secrets Act was recommended by the Second Administrative Reforms Commission. Absolutely correct. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. The Right to Information Act was enacted in 2005. ये भी बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. ठीक है, बट यहाँ पे बेटा ध्यान रखना, इधर मेरी टीम से गलती हुई है, उन्होंने आंसर गलत दिया है. तो विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट? बोथ आर करेक्ट. ओके, सो दैट इज द अबॉलिशन ऑफ ऑफिशियल सीक्रेट्स एक्ट 1923 वाज रिकमेंडेड बाय द सेकंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म्स कमीशन. यस, करेक्ट. राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन एक्ट वाज इनैक्टेड इन 2005. यस, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. ठीक है, तो आप यहाँ देख लीजिए इसको. ठीक है, इन्होंने यहाँ पे 2 ओनली आंसर दिया है, इसको आप मार्क गलत कर दीजिए. The correct answer is this, C, both 1 and 2. ठीक है, okay, let's move further to the next question, question number 9. all right. अब बेटा देखो, हमारी शेड्यूल 8 पे क्वेश्चन, which among the following is the latest language to be included in the 8th schedule. ठीक है, अब बेटा ओरिजिनल शेड्यूल में तो हमारे 14 लैंग्वेजेस थी 8 शेड्यूल के अंदर, प्लस ऑफ कोर्स आफ्टर सक्सेसिव अमेंडमेंट्स वी हैव एडेड 8 मोर ऑफ देम एंड नाउ द टोटल इज 22. ठीक है, लेकिन अगर आप इनमें से ये 3 लैंग्वेजेस देखोगे ना, नेपाली, कोंकणी और मणिपुरी, नेपाली, कोंकणी एंड मणिपुरी, these were all added by the 71st Amendment Act 1992. ठीक है, और जो मैथिली है, this was added along with Dogri, Bodo and Santhali by the 92nd Amendment Act 2003. तो ये चारों जो है ये एक ही अमेंडमेंट एक्ट से ऐड हुई थी, लेकिन यहाँ पे चॉइस बड़ी क्लियर है. which among the following is among these following latest to be included. तो ये तीनों तो 92 में ऐड हो गई थी, ठीक है. So obviously this was added in 2003. Therefore the correct answer becomes Matthew. और ये explanation आपको नीचे भी मिल जाएगी. Let's have a look. All right, let's come to the 10th question. Okay. Simple question hai. I think you should be able to answer this. Which among the following statements about adjournment motion in the Parliament of India is not correct? Its objective is to draw attention to the House of the House to any recent matter of urgent public importance. ये तो सही लग रहा है बिल्कुल. यही तो होता है adjournment motion का मतलब. And adjournment motion is an extraordinary device, extraordinary procedure, because the moment the adjournment motion is accepted by the speaker, so naturally all the business and the agenda of the day is suspended, and then the House sits down to take up discussion on the matter which is mentioned in the adjournment motion proposal. ठीक है, वो जो भी urgent public importance का matter है उसकी discussion होती है. ठीक है. So adjournment motion is an extraordinary device, correct? This motion can be invoked on any matter of urgent public importance that may even be within the jurisdiction of state government. No. Adjournment motion debate can be started only on those matters which are the direct responsibility of the union government, not of the state government. तो ये तो हो गया आपका incorrect. The chair, that is the speaker, has absolute discretion to refuse consent. Yes, ठीक है. He has absolute discretion to refuse consent. तो ये भी ठीक है. In fact, adjournment motion debate को introduce करने के लिए कम से कम लोकसभा में 50 लोकसभा एमपीज की सपोर्ट चाहिए होती है. और adjournment motion वैसे भी एक डिवाइस है which is largely available only in the लोकसभा. ठीक है. तो this motion can be invoked on a matter of urgent public importance which is the direct responsibility of government of India, not the state government. ठीक है. And the chair has absolute discretion to refuse consent. और normally chairs जो हैं speakers ruling party के होते हैं, क्योंकि adjournment motion debate में normally the government of India is questioned a lot and very embarrassing questions are asked of them. तो naturally उनका जो image है among the public opinion को भी shape करते हैं, इनकी जो debates होती हैं. तो naturally speakers throughout you would see that over the last 30-40 years have shown a reluctance, some kind of hesitancy in allowing these debates, right? So C is the correct answer. Okay. So because this is not the correct statement, and that is what they've asked. Which among the following statements about adjournment motion in Parliament of India is not correct? So this is not correct. So C becomes the correct choice. Okay. Okay. So these were the 10 questions, and some of them were typical. You can see that, but you can have a look here. I've given some additional information also on the same. You can have a look at this. Okay. Okay. So these 10 questions were asked this time. And well, not very difficult. You can see that if you are thorough with your preparation, and even if you have done it from Lakshmikant also, I mean, these questions can be easily answered. Perhaps not the one for that the Official Secrets Act was sought to be the second ARC recommended its abolition, its repeal. वो शायद वहाँ पे नहीं मिल पाएगा. बाकी more or less आप उससे भी ये questions answer कर सकते हो. Let's hope this discussion was worth your while. I'll see you again in another session very similar to this one. In short duration, in short term. Thank you very much for attending.